everybody, welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Rena, and hi.
Hello.
Olive had a big day, so she might be snoring on this for all our listeners out there.
There's no might about that. It is
Well,
100%.
I already woke her up once.
Yeah. Gotta get her a sleep apnea mask.
Right? Oh, then she'd look like a little doggy Bane.
Or not. Let's get into the news.
The power of the press triumphs.
With the Suicide Squad, an update to something we talked about last time. This is from Justin Kroll at Variety. Deadshot removed from sequel as Idris Elba moves to new character. Though it was previously reported that Elba would be replacing Will Smith as Deadshot in the new pick, sources now tell Variety that all parties, including director James Gunn, have decided to move on from the Deadshot character, with Elba playing a new character in the Suicide Squad. Some of the things I've read included that he brought it up, kind of, that he didn't want to feel shady about taking the character from Will Smith, and he didn't want to, like, put the possibility of bad blood up there. So, I mean, I'm fine with that. It doesn't really change anything.
Is he King Shark? Is he King Shark?
I would say probably not, because I think they probably would have said specifically that he was going to be King Shark, but also I feel like he's a face character. Like you're gonna see Idris Elba on screen. You're not gonna see him behind a CG character.
True. I also saw that what's his name, who played Rick Flag, who's also in Altered Carbon, is returning to reprise his role.
Yeah, there's been a lot of and Viola Davis also. I think that was announced as well.
That's good that they should have some people, just
the connections. Yeah. I think they avoided at first saying that they were coming back, just for the sake of they're trying to really push the fact that this is not a sequel to the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're no, it's all new stuff with a couple new people.
Well, I mean,
stage whispering that.
Isn't that the whole point of Suicide Squad, though? Is that you have Amanda,
interchangeable members.
You have Amanda Waller, and she'll assume a team of bad people to go do vigilante type things. So I mean, it already lends itself to having different characters in that way.
I'm really hoping that it's more of a it's less of a Skybeam kind of plot and more of hey, this is a government mission where we have to take somebody out. Because that's all the coolest Suicide Squad stories that I've read have all been that political agenda instead of getting the shitbags to try to save the world kind of thing. It should really just be a focused mission plot to me.
Literally,
so,
what's
hopefully.
playing in my head right now is rat catcher, catch me, a rat. I guess I was just talking about this the other day about the random ass characters they pulled out of nowhere, except for King Shark.
Well, that's why I'm so excited that this is James Gunn doing weird shit with weird characters, because it's we know he can pull that out.
Yep.
So moving on to
headline number 2.
I'm gonna very quickly go through headline 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's pretty much the entirety of the stories.
And welcome to the lightning round.
Yeah.
Go.
So the first one is from Mia Gallupo at The Hollywood Reporter. The 2 after that are from Boris Kitt at The Hollywood Reporter. And then the final one is Justin Kroll at Variety. So Angelina Jolie in talks to make Marvel debut with the Eternals. Kumail Nanjiani in talks to join Angelina Jolie in Marvel's The Eternals. Stranger Things star David Harbour joins Scarlett Johansson in Marvel's Black Widow. And Black Widow, Rachel Weisz circling key role in Marvel's standalone film. That last one's from Variety. The other ones are from The Hollywood Reporter. Yeah, they're Endgame's coming up, so we might as well start just announcing a bunch of stuff.
No, guys, we promise. We have more things coming. Don't panic.
Yeah, as if anyone, if anyone actually thinks that Marvel's this is the end, is laughable.
No, it's just the end of a very big, long arc. Basically.
Yeah, it's the end of this arc. Exactly.
Is what's his name from Stranger Things going to be Hellboy in the new Black Widow movie?
Yep, they're just gonna put that mask on him.
That sounds wonderful.
No, my thought is that he's probably gonna be some sort of amalgamation of the like 20 different characters who have been Red Guardian, including one that was Widow's husband. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the route they were taking with that. I had no idea who Rachel Weisz is going to be, but I'm also like, I texted you as soon as the Angelina Jolie thing broke, because I was like, holy shit. Like, that's huge.
I think casting her as a celestial being makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she is Cersei, because she looks exactly like the character. The one of the Eternals who wants to hang out amongst the humans. Not sure who Kumail is going to be, but yeah. I like every single one of these. It's not like any actors who I'm just like, meh. I like all of these people. So it's pretty fantastic to see like a run of all of that instead of just the like when you do that many in the same week, it could be like hit or miss. Like some of them could be small, some of them could be big. All of these seem relatively big to me. So I'm excited. The future is bright for Marvel.
And don't forget, they also now have the rights to Fox's library of content. So we'll see later on, not in the near future, but how that builds up later.
I would assume not until like 2022 or 23 probably.
But you know, in true Marvel fashion, they'll start weeding in tiny little seeds of things early on that will grow into something. You might not even notice until you see it later on. You're like, oh my god, they totally referenced that like 2 years ago.
Yeah, they can finally say something along the lines of, oh yeah, the former Stark building was bought by Reed Richards and is the Baxter building now, or something like that. So
I'm sure they'll start, probably next year, working small bits of that universe in and figuring out where all that comes into play. We might not see it for a few years, but I think they're gonna start that sooner rather than later.
I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 12 months from now we hear a character in one of these movies use the term mutant, but I don't expect anything like a character per se to be brought up.
But I imagine they're thinking of the next several phases. They like to plan things out in bulk.
They're not just playing it by year?
No. Oh, God. Marvel?
11 years in?
No, they're not DC.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
Main topic. Shazam is fucking great. I love Shazam.
I thought it was cute.
It's my new favorite movie in that universe.
Really?
Yep.
That's fine. I don't know if I have one. But I thought it was
Wonder
cute.
Woman still?
Yeah, probably Wonder Woman. I thought
it was neck and neck with Wonder Woman. It's just that this gave me so much of the old school New Line feeling from like 80s New Line.
Right down to the floor keyboard.
Well, that felt like big, but New Line Pictures, New Line Cinema specifically, like the company that made Lord of the Rings, but also they made the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie. I feel like these, like Shazam and that movie are gonna make a real good double feature to watch. But they have a lot of the same like tone and visual style to me, so it's very much up my alley.
I thought it was cute. I liked it. I was kind of along for the ride.
Well, I think that's the thing, is even if it doesn't like blow somebody away, I think it's a like really fun movie in general that everyone can be like, that was not a waste of my time. That was a fun time. This
is a tangent. However, I will say when I went to see Shazam, I saw it in the IMAX, the big IMAX, and they didn't extended. I went to the Jordans, and they did an extended trailer for Godzilla King of Monsters, like a full look at like the setup to the battle in looks like Antarctica. I'm so excited. And then
which part looked like Antarctica?
They were cracking through the ice.
Oh, okay, specifically that. Okay, I was like, because I didn't know if you were just seeing like where everything looks blue.
No, it was like he came out under the ice.
Yeah. Because the finale of that movie takes place in Boston.
Yeah, no.
That's
there were tankers. There were no
I'm
cities.
so excited for that.
I'm so excited for that movie.
I'm ready to see Boston get
Oh
destroyed.
my god, it looked so good in the IMAX with the rumble seats and like,
Yeah.
oh, that is like everything like a monster movie should be. Anyway, let's go back to Shazam.
So speaking of
Shazam!
IMAX stuff, I was pretty bummed out that there's no point in seeing this movie in IMAX.
Yeah, I know.
None of it has IMAX aspect ratio, so paying extra, if you're going to pay extra for a better experience, I would say a Dolby theater would have been better.
I
Just
miss the
because-
Dolby Atmos at ArcLight.
Yeah, the picture and there's one at Assembly, and there's
one at Showcase.
I go to the one up in Methuen.
There's one in Revere, but remember we took you to ArcLight when you came out to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like my favorite theater to go to. But
I was bummed out that their 3D technology was with powered glasses because it made me sick. I did not like that. But in general, I think the picture quality and the sound is better at Dolby. So since there's no extra screen real estate being used, I think that's a better thing to go for instead of IMAX.
I was just along for the ride.
Yeah. I prefer in general Dolby at this point. But if there's like I'm seeing Endgame in both because they shot the entire movie in IMAX ratio, so there is stuff through the whole movie. There's going to be stuff that is like making use of that bigger screen. So
I'm seeing it in both as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back to Shazam. I mean, so I went into this like totally blind. I didn't know anything about the character. I mean, at face value, if you take the story, it seems very silly. So I like the way that they played off of that and went with sort of this like almost 80s throwback like coming of age story, because otherwise it would just have seemed like a little too ridiculous, like it's a wizard. So
yeah, like they leaned into the very like down to earth aspects of it. Like some of my favorite stuff in this movie was just the stuff with the family.
Oh, I know the family stuff. That was great.
Was all done very well, and it was all really sweet. So that like I think having that in there grounds the ridiculousness of seeing like Jaimin Hensu in a wig with a big fake beard on. But like that's why I like why it felt like an old school New Line Cinema movie, because it gave me that like little bit of cheesy feeling to it with that stuff. Like when it like the camera would go in on one of the 7 Deadly Sins faces,
and it was very. Did that remind you of Ghostbusters? Like their design?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, like, specifically them breaking out of the statues, like, that's spot on from Ghostbusters.
Well,
that is, like, a direct reference.
Gluttony totally looked like Slimer. A little bit.
Like,
the shape, like, right,
but
the face sculpt did, and then there was a little bit of, like, a Zool aspect in a few of them. And also, I just think, like, wait, Zool, yeah, right?
The demon dogs. Yeah.
So I felt like there was a lot of that, like, design element in all of them, and they kind of almost looked like D&D board pieces come to life.
A little bit, yeah. Which was cool, because I do like how that stuff felt like a lower budget movie to me, because it gave it more of that feel to me, the like early New Line stuff. I can't like the first third of the movie maybe could have gone a little bit quicker, but other than that,
Yeah, they
I have like no problem with this movie whatsoever.
like they establish like yeah, like he's a kid and he's not using his powers, for good all the time because you have to factor in not only is he 14, but he's like a 14-year-old kid who's been in foster care. So
Yeah.
we can assume he hasn't had always the best role models. And that his life has been wrought with inconsistencies.
Yeah.
So, even though deep down he's a good person, he might not always make the best choices. The other thing is I felt like the final battle like went on and forever. Like with the two of them in the air. And
that didn't really bug me too much because it was cutting back and forth with the rest of the family members who were powered up at that point.
that I did like, but I just felt like they were just at like a stalemate for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right,
Well,
we'll wrap this
I
up.
do think that was somewhat the purpose because it, like, they needed to get all of the sins out of him in order to actually make him weaker than the unnamed superhero. He's actually not called anything in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I like how they keep making up new names.
Yeah.
What was it, Captain Sparklefingers?
That's probably the most memorable one because we've heard it so much because it was in the trailer as well. But yeah, there's like 9 of them.
Wasn't that your nickname in high school?
Me?
Just kidding.
I didn't really go to high school.
You went to a little bit.
I went to a year of high school.
That's a little bit. You went to a quarter of high school.
Yeah. And didn't finish it. So, but the thing I like, I'm fine with the pacing of that fight just because there were moments within that stalemate where they cut away to like, even on the meta level, like show how ridiculous it was. Like after fighting for a while and they're really far apart, when he's just like, are you doing like a big villain monologue? I can't hear you. We're really far away. And they just like, that was one of those moments where I really like how long that joke went on for, because it sort of lives by the rule of like, it's funny and then it loses its humor and then it brings it back again because it's pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So I super, super loved all that stuff.
You know what one small moment I liked was when he finally meets his mom and they go back to her recollection of the same day that he got lost in the amusement park.
And it was played differently.
It was played totally different, and you could understand from his point of view why he saw things one way and why she saw them a different way. And I liked how they did that too. Like, I mean, I know it was a small moment, and that it kind of broke my heart.
Oh yeah.
And like
that was a like kind of hard thing to watch.
It was tough because it was one of those situations where like when she starts to explain herself, you're like, shit. Like you don't know where to go.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're like witnessing an awkward conversation in real life in that moment.
Yeah, because
it is so like it's so awful for Billy in that moment that like you just feel so bad and empathize with him so much at that point because you've also gone through the journey of him trying to find her already at that point. So
but then you realize like, you know, the same moment he does, like how much better off like he is.
Yeah, when he comes to the realization that like you find your own family, it's from then on, I think the rest of the movie is just like go go go. Even though some of that like you felt went on a little bit, it's still like the pace from that point on is just like, oh, now it's the end of the movie. We're just at the end of the movie now. So I appreciated that it didn't draw too much on him being bummed out in that moment.
Well, I think he always knew, right? Like he seems like a pretty like savvy kid, and I think even though he held on hope for this thing, I don't think that he was completely naive. He didn't want it to be that way.
I think a lot of other movies would have put that like earlier in the movie and then spent an entire act of him being sad. Like that would have happened like at the end of the first act and the second and the beginning of the second act in a lot of movies, and then they would have spent the entire second half of him being sad and then realizing, like, now I should be a hero, like, halfway through the third act. Instead, this was, like, basically the end of the second act, and the entire end of the entire third act was basically, like, let's just get through, like, this is all just a big action sequence now.
The only thing I didn't like was people picking on, is his name Freddy?
Yeah, that was...
I cannot watch kids beat up on a kid that with a crutch. Like, it's...
Like, I know that it definitely happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything in this world, there's a possibility of something happening. It happens. But it's just like, holy shit. Like, watching it happen is...
Or, like, he hit him with a car.
Yeah, that's... How does that kid not immediately get arrested at that point?
Right,
But
that's assault, man.
That is also, like, so fucking 80s, like an 80s kids movie. That's the kind of thing that would happen in that kind of movie. So,
like, they were only missing, like, a bike chase, like a BMX bike chase.
Exactly, yeah. And Mac from Mac and Me then shows up.
And then Freddy falls off a cliff. And he saves him.
And then it cuts to Paul Rudd on Conan O'Brien.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he turned 50.
Yeah.
Like, what is his secret? What eye cream is he using? Like, please give me his skincare routine. Says the person who also is not aging.
I mean, some people just look good for a while.
or forever.
Yeah.
Do you think one day, like, Paul Rudd is just gonna, like, instantly be, like, an old man? He's gonna hit 80 and then just, like, shrivel like a raisin?
Yeah, he's like opposite Steve Martin. Steve Martin has looked like an old man since he was, like, 22. And Paul Rudd is just balancing that all out.
I guess. That's the ultimate balance of power right there. I mean, other than Zachary Levi, I feel like it was a cast of unknowns for the most part. So it's not like we're like, oh, well, his performance harkens back to blah, 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 blah.
Kind of. Because, I mean, like...
It was kind of the role that Zachary Levi was born to play.
Yes, Zachary Levi was, like, born to play that part of the role. But there are other people, like... The kid that plays Freddy is in It. So he's, like, on the rise.
Oh, he is in It!
Yeah, he's the kid with the cast in It. And then the kid that plays Billy is, like, a Disney Channel star. So, like... Fucking millions of kids know who he is.
I will say the two little boys who were annoying the shit out of me, like, earlier, because they kept, like, rocking the empty seat, and it was, like, shaking the whole row in, like, a non-rumble seat kind of way.
Yeah.
Immediately simmered down during that movie and watched the whole thing.
Pretty impressive. But, yeah, there's... A lot of it's funny because there's nothing really to spoil about this movie until the very end. Like, there's not there's Easter eggs and shit like that, but there's nothing about this movie that's like, oh shit, I didn't see that twist coming, because it's like, well, he's a kid who gets these powers and he wins in the end. Like, as whatever.
From a wizard.
You're a wizard, Billy. But yeah, this kind of spoilery stuff, I was like smiling ear to ear with some of it, like the special meeting at the very end of the movie, even though it's clearly not Henry Cavill because they didn't show his face.
Well, maybe he still had the mustache, and they just did not feel like CGIing that shit out again.
Yeah, no, it's very much a different person, but they, like, when he walked in, they played the John Williams theme song over him, and that was just like, oh, yes, this is what I want from that character, of him just being, like, a nice guy to a kid, and you hear, like, the heroic John Williams music. Perfect. Even though you don't see his face, still perfect. And then the mid-credit scene with Mr. Mind, with the worm character, that I'm very excited for how fucking weird of a setup that is.
I did not get that reference at all.
So, well, it is like the weirdest weird side of DC's Shazam stuff. Like it is.
DC's like, we heard that you liked Weird. You were way in on Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, with your dad's a planet. Let's see what we got in our bag of tricks here.
Yeah, and so like, and he's basically it's almost like he has like a Sinister Six of his own kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's even more characters, but they're all like D-list weird like creature characters. So I'm really stoked to see that happen.
Instead of King Shark, is it like I don't know, Prince Mantis Shrimp or Mantis Shrimp, or is it like
it's weirder than like the characters in that group are like weirder than you would probably be able to think of right now.
I don't know.
I know one of them is a Nazi. That's
okay.
not one of the weird ones, but I just know that one of them is a Nazi. And that character probably won't be in whatever they do.
Yeah, let's not introduce a younger generation into Nazis. I feel like we already
YouTube already does it. Yeah.
His name is just Mr. Mind.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Mr. Mime, which is a terrifying Pokemon.
Way scarier character.
Way scarier character. I'm waiting for the Shazam Detective Pikachu crossover.
I mean, it's not likely, but you can wait.
Yeah, actually, I just tried to Google Mr. Mind, and it's like, did you mean Mr. Mime?
Yeah, like you kind of have to specify like which one you're looking for.
Hey, Rena, we see that you're trying to Google something Pokemon related. No, I swear, not this time. Not this time. Mr. Mind
like
and
this.
the Monster Society of Evil.
Yeah. It's cheesy as hell, and it's awesome. But yeah, that kind of stuff, like the fact that they're leaning into so much of that, especially like following up Aquaman with like even more weird shit. I'm super pumped to see where this goes. My only thing is like, I hope they move on a sequel to this pretty quickly so that the kids aren't suddenly like 20 years old and like morphing into Zachary Levi, who's only like, he only looks like a handful of years older than them at that point.
Excuse me, it's a Captain Nazi?
Yeah.
Not just a regular Nazi. But it looks like also associated with Black Adam, which we know has been tossed around already.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the main nemesis for Shazam. So
is it still gonna Is it still gonna be The Rock?
Yeah, they make reference to him in this movie
because I kind of love thinking about Zachary Levi facing off against The Rock. That sounds awesome to me.
I still don't want them to do like a solo movie for Black Adam.
No. I want
them to just
together.
Go into it, but yeah. I think what they're planning is they're going to do a solo movie for him, and then he's going to be like their Venom, where he's like, he's a good guy, but he's not like a real good guy.
He's like a good guy. He gives really good relationship advice.
Yeah. They do make reference to him when Billy goes to the temple or whatever, and the wizard is telling him about somebody who did get the powers before.
Yeah, and used them for evil.
And used it for evil and revenge and stuff, and that's who he's talking about in there.
I'm on board now.
And it's like, yeah, it's... I don't know. I still think, like, as much as Zachary Levi was, like, perfect in this role, I still think The Rock would have made a better Shazam than a better Black Adam. Because he's very charismatic. I'm not saying he would have been better than Zachary Levi. I just think of the two characters The Rock could have played, Black Adam's not really like a charismatic character. He's just a full on like, I'm a bad guy, I'm gonna be bad.
Well, that's also very similar to his role in the Jumanji sequel, where he was like a high schooler in an adult person's body when they were in the game. That
I
movie
suppose.
that movie
But
was
also,
actually really
like,
funny.
he was attached to Black Adam, like, 6 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so
true.
if they had planned it out ahead of time, I think the Jumanji thing would have gone to the wayside.
I also feel like, if we're talking about a perfect specimen of human being, the perfect man, usually Zachary Levi's would think of. Although he was pretty buff, but it made it hard to tell in the suit what was him and what was padding. I mean, I know a lot about padding now. I watch a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race these days, but yeah.
I mean, a lot, like, the suit is, like, they've talked about it. It is supposed to look like a padded suit a little bit on top of him being muscular, just because it's supposed to be, like, the ideal of what a kid thinks a superhero looks like. So it's like, fucking huge muscles, man. And so they went and leaned into that a little bit. But I do like that they put in a joke making fun of the cape when a lot of people online after the set photo went out were making fun of the cape. So
the perfect man doesn't exist, but yes, he does. His name is Chris Evans, and he's Captain America.
and it's on record now that even the entire cast of Endgame likes him better with a beard. So, including himself. But
He lost everything.
Yep, snapped away. The I want to go back to the family getting the powers though, because holy shit, the perfect casting of Adam Brody as the older Freddy.
Oh my god, 100%,
Their
100%.
Their vocalizations, like, of the character were so spot on with each other. It was mind-boggling how well that worked.
He is literally Seth from the OC, the middle school years.
Yeah, except not, like, doesn't seem too much. Well, I guess he kind of seemed like a hanger-on a little bit. But,
oh, yeah, totally. Oh, my God. Did you ever watch the OC?
No, I mean, it's been a long time, but yes, I did. I was very much aware of when everybody else started to learn who Death Cab for Cutie was after I had already listened to them for like 4 years.
You're like, you're ruining it. Anyway.
None of you understand the first two records. But yeah, the
first Death Cab for Cutie song I ever listened to was 405. So there you go.
Cool. So he was like perfectly cast for the powered up version of Freddy. I really liked I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head, but playing the powered up version of Darla I thought was fantastic too. Like those were the two that I was like, oh yeah, they are spot on with the child actors in the way that they're pulling this off. And that was like, it just sort of brings me back to the stuff that I liked most about this movie is like the way the kids interacted with each other. I thought carried the majority of what this movie did. Because like seeing the, like, when Billy first says, like, you know, we're not really siblings, and it hurts Darla's feelings, and then later on, he's like, it's what a good big brother would do, and then she lights up, and I was like, hell yeah, like that, I almost, like, welled up in just for that, just because it was so sweet and sincere, and that's, like, everything I love about this movie, just it's so sincere, like, everything about it is just, like, we believe what we're doing fully. We're not being cynical about it whatsoever. And it felt good. It felt like something we haven't seen in a long time in not just this kind of movie, but like in the big movie kind of blockbusters and whatever in general. So I liked that.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, it was nice to see DC have a lighter side, which started, I feel like, with... I just think I'd go back to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman obviously had a lighter edge, and then so did Aquaman, obviously, because it's Aquaman.
Yeah.
And then to go into this, it was like almost like a nice transition for the solo films into, you know, less like, wow, everything is dark and terrible and muted colors and the only way to get through this is if our moms have the same name.
Yeah, and I think that's part of, like the sincerity of the characters. I think that's where it's all coming through, because the best stuff in Man of Steel is when Superman is Superman, like he's being what we know the character to be. The best stuff in Wonder Woman is when Diana's just like full throttle excited to see the world for the first time. Like that's a lot of the best stuff in that movie to me. And then it's obviously a different version of the character, but in Aquaman, when they're just like, Jason Momoa, just be Jason Momoa. That's the sincerity, is he's just like putting himself forward. So that, like, I think that's where their strongest stuff is, and they're like now realizing like, oh, if we do this, we'll see more success than if we're just like, the world is a hard place to live and it never gets better. Bah.
I also like that Lionel Luthor was the dad. Continuing to...
And also the scientist,
the
scientist that causes Uma Thurman to become Poison Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He is just...
I'm pretty sure he has more DC roles than like anybody else. Because it's, I mean, for multiple characters, I should say, because obviously, like, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill they've done, like, multiple things, but not so much, like, multiple characters. Mark Hamill has 2 that I can think of, and then Kevin Conroy is he's Batman all the time. But he's been on every cartoon, doing different characters. He's been on like every live action superhero or Superman thing. He's been on, this and in Batman, and so yeah, I think he legitimately has that record at this point.
Look, I knew a thing about Smallville. Aren't you proud of me? I never watched Smallville.
Oh, okay. That's why I was like, I guess, because I thought you had watched it. So I was like, that's a pretty low-hanging fruit.
I think I watched part of season 1. Maybe.
Oh, season 1's like the worst of it. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say the worst of it. Season 1 is like season 1 of Supernatural, I think.
Or
where
Buffy.
They're like...
Buffy, like...
Yeah, where they're like trying to find what it is, and then season 2, it like gets into it.
There are literally 5 episodes of season 1 of Buffy that you have to watch for context, and then you can just move right into season 2, which is exponentially better.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the remaster?
I heard about it, and it's like, what the fuck? It was dark for a reason. Bad. Anyway.
Yeah. But, yeah. Shazam.
Shazam! Actually, me saying like that doesn't even make it. Now seeing the movie, me saying it like that is totally legit. Just imagine me shooting lightning out of my fingers when I say it. Shazam!
Yeah, but the me saying Shazam in the voice that I say it in is a reference to Gomer Pyle. So that's a very different thing.
Yes,
I'm old and. When I was a child, watched reruns from television shows from the 60s.
From Nick at Night! Did you watch...
It wasn't even like Nick at Night. It was like that random channel in the 15 to 20 channel range that would just like show old episodes in the middle of the afternoon.
I'm pretty sure that still exists on basic cable. Cause...
It does. It's not the same channel anymore, but it's like, it's still a thing. A channel a channel has picked up that mantle, at least.
Yes. I do miss classic Nick at Night, which now Nick at Night is like Fresh
it's like
Prince
stuff that
and like Friends.
Yeah, it's when we were kids.
Like Home Improvement. And when I was little, it was like Get Smart. Get Smart.
Yeah, exactly. It was Get Smart, the Brady Bunch, all that shit.
Let me see.
Yeah.
I think my top 3 were Get Smart, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and Dragnet.
Was Dragnet on Nick at Night?
It was.
Huh.
And Green Acres.
I think for the most part, when I think of Dragnet, I'm thinking of the movie, the bad movie.
No,
with Dan Aykroyd.
It was like the old cop.
No, yeah. No, I'm well aware. The the movie is a movie version like years later of that show.
Mm-hmm.
But it was bad. It was very bad. It was extremely bad. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's not too much we can really say about Shazam besides like it's really fun. You should go see it because there's not like a ton of detail you have to worry about in this movie, but it's really fun. You should go see it.
Yes, you should. Or you know what? If you're not gonna see it in the next couple weeks, I think you should save it for after Endgame if you need like a palate cleanser, like something to restore your faith in humanity.
Or if you are seeing Endgame like in the first couple of days, then the rest of the weekend, you're going to have open screenings of Shazam. You're going to have no problem seeing Shazam. So you could see it then without an issue.
Or you could do like that's I think that would be recommended. To, again.
I mean, it's also like this coming weekend, it's only like big competition is Hellboy, and that's rated R. So this is still the family-friendly action movie that will be available. Missing Link also comes out, which I'm excited for, because Laika is just great all the time. But yeah, I like this coming weekend, if you're with the kids or whatever, and you can't bring them to see Hellboy because it's like, I just saw the Red Band featurette thing they released, and it is intense. Still not sure how it's gonna come out, but it's very gory. So if you want like a comic booky movie, 100% for like everybody, Shazam is definitely gonna be the way to go.
I 100% agree with that, and it seems as though the children sitting next to me felt the same way.
Yeah. That is something that's been like really nice with the last couple of superhero movies is they had like until Endgame it was basically Aquaman, Captain Marvel, and then this. And this probably had the scariest stuff and the darkest stuff in it, and it's not that dark. So I like that, like, they're sort of going for an even wider net of people that can see these movies. Granted, they want everybody to see Endgame. But like, Endgame and Infinity War were heavy. Like, there was heavy shit in that. Whereas Aquaman, Captain Marvel, and this all felt like saccharine is used derogatory usually, but like it had a little bit of that, like, yeah, like we want the little kids also to be able to watch this stuff. And I appreciate that they're like, yeah, 3 to 300. That's the age range.
Yeah, the world's a dark place anyway. Like, movies should like also uplift you every now and again.
Yeah. We can't just be pummeled all the time from every angle.
Seriously. Sometimes we need to spark a little hope. I'm sure Endgame will do that too in the end. But,
Oh, absolutely. But the journey.
The journey's going to be a lot more of a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's a lot. I feel like it's a lot like the Lord of the Rings, whereas like the Infinity War Endgame journey has been rough and heavy, but like the end result will be good. But yeah.
Oh my god, that just reminded me of Chadwick Boseman not spoiling things. Have you seen that?
I'm dead.
I'm dead. Why didn't you do your
what about,
homework?
no, I'm dead.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank God we can we're real soon gonna have to not deal with all of like people asking dumb questions that they can't answer. It's over soon. But yeah, I think that'll probably do it for this episode, and we'll be back with another one soon.
Yes, we will.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. It's always appreciated greatly, especially since we're trying to like get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. So we will just see you
We'll see you when we see you.
Or speak at you at the next episode.
Bye.